Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's session on the latest and indeed the last of our InLeeds series. I hope you've been able to make along to some of our other sessions. And if this is your first one, then welcome to tonight's session on working for an SME in Leeds. My name is Tom Davis. I work at the University of Leeds, and I'm joined by my colleague Sarah Goldston, who's also from the University of Leeds. And we're about to be joined by representatives from a couple of SMEs in Leeds, including some current student interns who are going to tell you about what they do and how to get into them and lots of other fantastic stuff. Just a couple of administrative things. We'd love to hear your questions and comments. So it's going to be a very informal session with the opportunity to ask lots of questions. So whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, do just drop a comment in or a question and we'll be able to answer that for you. And the session is being recorded, so if you need to go, you need to leave early, or you need to, or you want to refer back to it at a later point, then it will be available on whatever channel you're currently watching this broadcast on. The session is due to take place, due to take an hour. We'll see how we go time-wise, depending on how engaged you are with questions. Sarah's going to be chairing. I'm going to disappear in a minute, and we're going to bring all our speakers on. And in fact, I think there's no time like the present. So without further ado, I will hand over to Sarah and our fantastic speakers from various organisations.
Fabulous. Thanks so much, Tom. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us all this evening. We're really grateful, and we hope this is going to prove a really useful and interesting session for you all. As Tom mentioned, this is the final session in our InLeeds group of our InLeeds sessions that we've had this week. This is the very last one, and this I believe is the only one where we've actually had some interns coming onto the session to chat with you all as well about what they've been doing, what they're gaining from their experience. So please, as Tom said, please do ask any questions at all in the chat, and I'll make sure that they get answered for you. So we're going to start the session with Tom Bagnell from an organisation based here in Leeds, as everybody is, called Shift Marketplace. And all our employers this evening are real champions of offering opportunities to students based in the city. They've been an absolute pleasure for me to work with, and I'm going to hand over to Tom now, who's going to chat to you about how he's got to where he is today, what the company does, and then we're going to go into a bit more detail about why he offers opportunities to students and how they've benefited the company. So over to you, Tom.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom. So I'm one of the three co-founders of Shift Marketplace. I'm Leeds born and bred. I was born in Leeds in 1980. I was just saying to Sarah that I'm here because my parents went to Leeds University in the 70s. I went to school in Leeds. I went to university in Durham, left there, went to London for about 10 years, moved back to Leeds, and I had a bit of a nomadic career up until that point. And in 2010, I joined a large Leeds-based marketing agency called Epiphany. Epiphany was a big graduate recruiter, and they took on lots of students and trained them into online marketing. And the way that company grew, it was a company that offered online marketing services at a time when there was a real shift in consumer behavior from people buying things in shops to buying things online. So Epiphany existed to get more traffic to businesses' websites. That business grew from 2 people when it was founded to about 160 people in 2014. That business was then sold to a big PLC, and the guy who founded it, he exited the business. And last year, or back end of 2019 it was actually, he came to me and he said, I want to launch a new marketing agency based in Leeds that is all about getting brands onto marketplaces. Because again, there was a big shift in consumer behavior from buying things on websites via Google to going to the likes of Amazon to buy products. there weren't any businesses really offering a marketplace managed service in the UK. So we launched the business, as I say, back in 2019. And looking back, it was obviously quite fortuitous timing because we launched the business. It was a good proposition, we felt, because brands were looking to marketplaces to accelerate their growth. And obviously, COVID-19 hit. People were working from home. Businesses who manufactured products couldn't sell their products to the high street because it didn't exist anymore. So they had to find new avenues to get to their customers, and marketplaces, Amazon, eBay, etc., were a great route to take your product to the market. So myself and my co-founders grew the business from 3 of us in 2019 to 16 people today. The key thing for us was we wanted to recruit the right sort of individual to come and join the business. Now, because our market is quite young in terms of its experience, we couldn't find a lot of people who had the relevant Amazon experience or eBay experience. So we contacted Sarah to look at the intern program, to bring in people who were the right mindset, the right commercial mindset, but the right hunger to come in and learn how we do things from the ground up. So we took on Toby, who's joining us on this podcast, and 2 more interns who, for the last 3 or 4 months, have been learning from myself, the other co-founder, and the rest of the team about how Amazon works as a platform, how you can leverage a brand on Amazon, and all the different elements you can do to actually market a brand on Amazon, from designing Amazon content, Amazon stores, paid advertising, and all the logistics that go in behind the scenes and how Amazon works. So we're in a very fast-paced, moving environment. So talent and bringing in talent is a really, really important part of growing a business. And it's almost a sort of double-edged sword of finding the right character fit who can come in, who can complement the team, but is also a good cultural fit. Because starting a new business is always difficult. Starting a new business when you've got a global pandemic and you can't go into an office is even harder. So over the last 12 months or last 10 months, really, we've kind of run the business remotely. We have calls at 9 and 4 every day to set the agenda, then review the agenda every day. But we have an office in the middle of Leeds, and Leeds has always been a really good recruitment area. The universities, all the universities in Leeds have always had a really good reputation for graduates who come into marketing. I think the important thing from a graduate perspective is you don't necessarily have to have a degree, a direct degree in marketing to make a successful career in marketing. We look to take on graduates or interns from a variety of backgrounds, because different skill sets can lend yourselves to different roles within marketing, from analyzing data, managing advertising spend, to the more creative side of marketing, about how you can position a brand and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's us. And the way I see our recruitment process working moving forward is we bring on people who've got Amazon experience, marketplace experience, to understand how retail works, but also we want to supplement that with younger people who can come in and who can learn and be part of the team as we grow, because our industry is still quite young. So people who come in now, in the next 5, 6, 7 years, will become leaders in the industry. So it's a really exciting place to work. I think it's a really exciting industry to work in, and it's certainly very current. And that's why I think we've had quite a successful growth period. So client-wise, we've got about 30 clients today. The clients are spread all over the UK and the world, but I see our growth really being built around Leeds. We've got a London satellite office that we don't use at the moment, but down the line we can use that for client meetings. But I'm really quite proud of our sort of Leeds roots. My co-founder had Epiphany, built and sold a large agency in Leeds. Employed 200 people in Leeds. So yeah, that's us. I guess open to questions, Sarah.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much, Tom. Really, really interesting, and just to see how the company has got to where it is today. But what made you think that you'd like to recruit university students and graduates rather than going, for example, to a recruitment agency?
Yeah.
What made you sort of go down that route? And so far, how beneficial has it been having a student working for you as a part-time intern?
Yeah, good question. I think when you take people who are interns or graduates, there's a degree of hunger, and there's also a degree of the fact they haven't already worked somewhere else, had a certain mindset change. You can almost shape them into how you want your business to work with them. So the three people who've come on board for us have all been fantastic, but I was quite keen to get a certain sort of character fit. So it wasn't just the applications and CVs of candidates. I also asked a few questions of the candidates to see how they worked, because I basically asked them all, what brands would you launch on Amazon if you could launch any brand? And what brand would you see to be a good fit for us as an agency? So I could see how they worked, sort of thinking, how would that product work on Amazon? Would someone buy that product on Amazon? Would it be a good fit for us as a client? So it was as much about as a character fit as it was a sort of academic marriage, if you like. But the way I see it evolving is every year we'll take on 2 or 3 interns, and those interns hopefully will have, you know, long-term careers. So the likes of Toby, who's been with us 4 or 5 months now, you know, hopefully will be joining us full time in June, July, and then there'll be another raft of interns coming in then to work with us as well. So. So your other points there about the recruitment side of it, I find recruitment agencies sometimes try and shoehorn a candidate into a role that might not be a good fit, whereas with the intern program, you can almost shape a role around somebody as well, so they can come in. So the whole point of our intern program is they come in and learn the entire business top to bottom by doing client-facing tasks, but they get exposed to how our business is run and how our clients are run. So just before this call, Toby was on a call with me and the rest of the team launching a new cosmetics brand. So he got exposure to how that brand was founded. The founders are on the call, the backing behind it, how they manufacture the products, to how we sell it, to the entire process. So I think, you know, from a intern grad perspective, to get that exposure is fantastic.
It really is. And I remember, Tom, when we were discussing the job spec before we went live with your vacancy, you were very keen to open the opportunity to all degree disciplines, which was really good for me to hear as well. You didn't just want it to be advertised to marketing students at the business school, for example. Now, Toby is a final year international business and marketing student. What skills do you feel that he has brought to the role? And obviously we're going to chat with Toby soon. But with regard to that particular degree, how do you feel that's helped him in his work so far?
Well, I think a business degree like Toby's gives him a real sort of rounded view about how businesses work. So I was impressed by his initial application, and what he said in his applications followed through into how he works with us. So it's looking at business, understanding all the different components that makes that business successful, from the finances side of it, the accountancy side, to the marketing side, to the commercial side, to the operation side of a business. So, Toby's degrees, I mean, I've not really sort of probed in too much on what he did in his degree. It's just apparent to me that the way he works and the way he, almost holds himself in front of clients and the way he interacts is, a real sort of testament to the university and how it sort of stood him in that stead.
Fantastic. That's really good to hear. And I know that you also took on a student who can speak multiple languages. So if anybody is joining us today and you've got some questions about your degree and whether that would be a good fit, or if you're speaking if you do speak more than one language, Tom's already told us that he's going to be recruiting more interns. So do ask any questions around that if you'd like to.
It's a real balance there, yeah. So we've got one student who's done a psychology degree, so she's got really good analytical knowledge, so she can look at data trends and understand how we can optimize client campaigns based on that. Elena, as you mentioned, speaks 4 languages, so that's quite handy when we've got clients trading all across Europe. So It's not just about translating content, it's about localizing marketing messaging as well to that territory. So yeah, we're always open to people who are just bright, commercial, or hungry, and want to have a career in an industry that's growing really quickly. And that's what I say to everybody who joins, who's not just joining from a university direct background, but somebody who's coming from another company. I'd say you join at a time where the market is moving in a direction, you get to shape what the offering's like with us. So yeah.
Fantastic. I really think that'll give people listening and tuning in tonight confidence to look at all different types of roles and feel that they can really put in a good application. Thanks so much, Tom. I'm going to go to Toby, your lovely intern. So Toby, can you first of all give us a brief overview of what you've been doing so far during your internship?
Yeah, sure. So I I started on the 1st of December, just before Christmas. Since then, I've been doing all sorts. Really, been getting a lot of exposure into all the different areas of the business. Been doing some content optimizations. I get involved with general kickoff meetings with potential new clients and that kind of stuff. So lots of exposure, which is really, really cool. Which is sort of why I applied for the job, really. It's good to learn all different aspects of the business, not just one aspect of marketing or one aspect of the operations. It's the whole lot, which is really good.
Yeah, lovely. So you mentioned there what attracted you to the role. When you read the job spec, what else gave you that confidence to actually apply?
Well, I think at the time I was applying for pretty much everything.
Yeah.
But what really stood out for me was, it was clear that it was a sort of a supporting role. It was a role that was, open for development, lots of training, lots of exposure, and also the fact that they understood university does come first. We are very flexible with our hours that we can work, and they're supportive on that aspect as well. So that's what stood out for me.
Really good. That's really good to hear. And just finally, Toby, what advice would you give others who are thinking of applying to opportunities such as these? I think a lot of students think, I'm not going to apply. There'll be hundreds of people applying, or I haven't got enough things on my CV to put on my application. And they don't bother. They don't really have that confidence. What advice would you give anyone listening tonight?
Well, I would say you've always got to have your full confidence in yourself. That can come from any aspect, whether that's in the results that you've got from uni, or even just sort of I personally did a lot of pro bono work to sort of get myself out there. I worked with a few music bands, did some marketing for them. So there's always opportunities wherever it is. It may not be paid, it may not be full-time work, but get yourself out there, build a good CV portfolio, and just back yourself, really throw yourself into the application, find out what you can about the company, who you're going to be working with, what goals they have, and and the culture as well, which is really important. But it all comes down to being confident in yourself, for sure.
Definitely.
One thing, so just one point on that, which I thought was quite good about Toby, was he was on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, a professional networking website that I'm sure Brett's going to tell us a bit about in his spiel. Toby was already on LinkedIn, so when I got his application, I looked at his profile on LinkedIn, went through his activity, and saw the comments that he was making on other people's articles. So I kind of got a good voice came through what he was like and what he was saying. So that's quite good to students. If you're even in your first year, second year, just get a LinkedIn profile made so you can start showing employers what you're about and who you are.
Yeah, really good advice. And I know of any students who are listening who are thinking, I don't know where to start on LinkedIn. All the different career services at these three unis, we all offer LinkedIn workshops. So do sign up to some of those, and you can get really, really excellent profile on LinkedIn. And as you've heard it from the mouth of an employer, it's really useful, and it was something that really impressed Tom. So Toby, I will be asking you some more questions later, but for the moment, thanks ever so much to you and to Tom. And we're now going to go to Brett Jacobs from PresentWorks, who, like Tom, has been such a massive supporter of employing students in the region. Really excited to hear what you've got to say, Brett. And you'll see, everybody, that we have 3 other people on the session tonight, and Ollie and Marta and Sam are all permanent staff now that were interns taken on by Brett. So we're going to hear from Ollie, Sam and Marta straight after we've heard from Brett. So over to you, Brett, and thanks ever so much.
Thank you, Sarah. No, it's been an important thing for me, I think, really to reach out to the university over the last couple of years since setting up PresentWorks. So as a business, we're relatively new, not quite as new as Tom, although Tom didn't mention that he and I did know each other in a former life as well. So I think it's probably worth making that point. But we set up in 2018 as a B2B, a business-to-business marketing agency. And the team that I pulled together, I've got a background in data marketing. I actually also was at Leeds University as well, a little while ago, I have to say. So I came to Leeds when I was 18 and moved away for about 10 years and moved back about 20 years ago, actually, moved back to Leeds. And I've made it my home. And, Leeds is a great city for me. It's where my children have been born and brought up. And the university was a big spur to me, I think, in terms of, the direction that my career has taken and the opportunities that I've had as a result of that. So I think living in Leeds, being at Leeds University, being in a city as well where, as Tom said, there's a lot of marketing, digital activity taking place. There's a lot of opportunity for young people. And I think, Sarah, you and I met a couple of years ago to start with when we first started to talk about the intern program. Mm-hmm. It's actually that conversation that made me think that's great. Let's look at some opportunities. And Marta actually was, I think you were our second employee at the time, Marta. You took an internship with us 2 years ago and joined us on a full-time basis after you'd completed your 3-month period. So that's been great. And Ollie and Sam joined us this summer and equally as well, now working full-time, and I've made a real impact on the business. But just stepping back a little bit in terms of what we do as PresentWorks. So we are a marketing business. We combine data, digital, content, design and development. So we've got a broad range of skills and we offer those skills to businesses. So from my perspective, I think marketing for businesses can be as creative, if not more creative, than marketing to consumers. Just because there's a lot of focus on consumer marketing activity, why isn't there that same sort of approach with some of the business clients out there? And we've certainly brought that to bear. One of the propositions or the mantra that we work with is that for our clients, we find and engage their audience. So for us, we're using the sort of techniques to demonstrate authority for our clients, really demonstrate thought leadership, use some of the data and digital techniques to reach out to clients and to engage with them and bring them on board. Tom mentioned LinkedIn and the very fact that Tom was also on, colleague was also on LinkedIn to start with. For me, we use LinkedIn in the same way as, say, some B2C service providers would use Facebook. It's a great way of getting content, getting interesting, engaging materials out to potential clients, to the right audience, and to draw those in and to make the sales process much easier for our clients. We've got a model that kind of underpins what we do, and it's a model that we call Find and Seek. And essentially, we categorize our services according to this model. So on the find side, if customers are out there looking for your company or your service, or indeed you, we're going to make sure that you're found. So search engine optimization is a key element of that. Paid search is a key element. A lot of the web development activity that we do has got search at the heart of it. On the other side of the equation is the seek side of things. And it's like people aren't looking for you. They're not looking for your business. They don't know what value you can add, but you can seek them out. And we undertake a lot of activity to really just identify the potential customers of organization. LinkedIn is a great platform for helping us do that. We use a lot of content and creative execution to really just benefit that particular channel, backed up by the likes of PR and indeed social advertising as well. So in the same way as you get Facebook, Instagram adverts, LinkedIn do the same, aimed at that particular audience. And we can use the profiles that that we generate through those sorts of platforms to really hone in on a potential audience and bring those to bear for the clients. We've got clients across a range of sectors, technology, finance, fashion, and the creative sector as well. One of our big clients is an international business. One of the reasons why I was late coming onto the call just before we kicked off was I was on a call with a client in Los Angeles and in India. They're called Air Now. They work in the app space. So they have a number of different business divisions that help ensure that the security of apps is in place, that we can learn from the data that's created through app usage, and that we have the right platforms indeed to distribute and to monetize those propositions. That's a company called Air Now. We're working with HSBC, and the remit with the likes of HSBC is to effectively, and we're working with their chief economist and indeed some of the very top team there. We're making them thought leaders. We're using LinkedIn as a platform to really start to push out their content, to build their following. So they're becoming kind of social influencers in a business context, and that's the reason that we're working with that type of client. In the fashion space, a really interesting client that we had last year that we're going to continue working with over 2021 is New Era Cap. So they make the baseball caps, license those to a variety of soccer, American football, the big football clubs around the world as well. And they usually have kind of fashion shows 3-4 times a year. And their salespeople go out to meet with their clients. Well, under COVID, they've not been able to do that. So we developed for them effectively an online sales tool to enable them to conduct their sales conferences, their sales shows in an online environment. And that went really, really well. And I think, Tom pointed to the fact that from the perspective of an organization like Shift Marketplace, where there's been a big shift this year to online, that is happening elsewhere, and it's not going to go away. I mean, hopefully we'll get back to the position where we can actually meet face to face as well. But I think those online technologies and that online shift has been very much in place too, and that's going to continue as well. The work, I mean, you can probably see I am sat in the office, more for the benefit of my marriage than anything else, to be honest with you. And the office is about 5 or 10 minutes away from where I live. But the team here, I mean, Ollie, you're down in Brighton. Marty, you worked the first lockdown from your parents' place in Marbella. I don't blame you. And Sam is in Kent with a boyfriend's family. So we've all got very used to having these sorts of conversations, these sorts of calls over the time as well. Our full-time team, we've got 9 people now, and the aim is very much to, again, you'll be pleased to hear, Sarah, look at the opportunities that we can present to, that your students will be presenting to us this year as well, with a view to hopefully bringing people on board, letting them try out PresentWorks and letting us just make sure that the fit is there. And so we will be in touch again this summer. And I think, like Tom as well, we've not just taken on board people with a marketing degree. Ollie, history, politics, great writer. We do a lot of content writing. We need a lot of research undertaken. And I actually asked one of my colleagues to do a graphic which kind of does this, because you're all clever people at the university, but it's this kind of intuition, this ability to take a problem, to go away and solve it, that is what I'm looking for in people. And that is certainly something that all 3 of the team here have been able to do for us. Sam has some particular skills that she was able to bring to the business that have moved us on again significantly, and that's been really welcome. Marta, Spanish national, but I would say you could probably write better than I can in English, which is fabulous again. So, it's been a really successful program for us, and it's helped us grow. And hopefully the team have enjoyed that as well. But I'll let them be the answer to that.
Fabulous, so interesting, Brett. I think I mean you've already answered all my questions, to be honest.
Sorry.
Just really about the benefit. It's really clear now what your interns have brought to the organisation. So I'm really excited to speak to them now, to be honest, just to find out a bit more.
Sarah, so I'll gladly hand over.
Marta, can I start with you, because Marta, you've become a bit of a star on LinkedIn, and we've talked a lot about about LinkedIn. But I'd like to ask both you and Brett, really, how important has it been to you to really advance the brand, PresentWorks brand, through the writing that you've been submitting on LinkedIn? I mean, you've written some fabulous articles, which I've read, about marketing. Did you learn? Did you learn all of this on the job? Is this something you feel you bought from your degree? Were you inspired once you got into the office environment?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always enjoyed content writing myself. Like, I'm the kind of person who will journal and write articles for the sake of it. But I do think that when I joined the office, PresentWorks, when it was much smaller than it is now, you can really just, like, that atmosphere is there, and those values are present when we're working every day. It's not something just that we preach, it's what we actually practice. So I think that coming out of university and not really having I'd never really worked in an office before. I think as a person, I just really gel with those values, and I think that just transmits whenever I write on LinkedIn. It's what I've learned, and it's just what it is.
Yeah. So you've been inspired by the atmosphere within the office and the support that you've had as well. So Marta, can you just give us a brief overview of what you've been doing since you started? And just for everybody else to know, Marta started as a graduate intern, and then was kept on permanently after her probationary period, and she's still with the organisation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've been with PresentWorks a bit over a year and a half now, I think. I originally started as a marketing intern, but mostly I did content writing. I studied media and communication, so I don't have creative skills. So I did a lot of social media writing, articles, planning, content, doing some interviews with clients. I think I even did some translation for some clients into Spanish. But I think at the time, it was basically a strategy director that was doing most of the content writing and planning it and posting it. And of course, there's so much more to his job that I very much just stepped in and said, okay, we need to organize this in a better way. And that's how I started falling into my current role, which is I just plan everything. If anything needs to be scheduled in, it'll come to me. Any new briefs will come to me. So I just slowly fell into this role where, that's mostly what I do. I also do some account management for some one of our clients. I still write content for them, but yeah, I've moved away from content and more to just planning and making sure that everything's running smoothly on a day-to-day.
Right, excellent, and that's really good. That's a really good example again for everybody tuning in. You might read a job spec, but once you start in the role, and certainly if you're with a supportive organisation like PresentWorks, you adapt to different parts of the role, and your colleagues will see where your strengths are. So you could actually end up doing a completely different job to the one you applied for, because once you're in there, that's when you get the chance to really take advantage. So I'm sure you'd agree with that, and that's certainly what's happened.
Yes, so I think that's a great example of, that thing of taking a problem and going and running with it. So as we grew, the planning of our work was a bigger requirement, and this is something that Marta very much put herself forward for and has been brilliant at it. It's an invaluable role. I refer to Marta as the boss of the organisation. So, she gets everybody doing what we need to do, including me, which is superb. But that's the sort of thing, recognising when there's a need, and if that's something that you're interested in doing, running with it and taking it, that's superb.
Fantastic, yeah, really good to hear. So again, Marta, I'm going to come back to you soon. But I'm going to go to Ollie, because you're a fairly new intern with PresentWorks, and I'm just interested to know what you've been doing since you started.
So I do a lot of the writing now.
Okay.
Kind of what Marta was doing at the start. So I do So writing lots of what is called copywriting in the industry. So I do, like, for example, today I was doing writing emails to companies. I do the social media posts, and my favorite part of it is doing articles for different companies. And I guess a part of that as well is thinking about the ideas of.
Right.
Sorry?
And writing in this way, Ollie, is that something you'd done before?
Yeah, so I had a little bit of experience working for a digital marketing agency while I was at uni, but just over one summer. So that kind of piqued my interest and made me want to apply for PresentWorks.
Yeah, fantastic. When, again, I asked Toby this question, when you saw the job, what really attracted you and gave you the confidence to apply?
Well, the little bit of experience which I had was a big factor. I also became aware that it's such a booming industry, and that made me want to become part of it. I also, as a history graduate, the main skill which I learned while studying was being able to write. So I saw this as like a perfect opportunity to use the skills which I'd learned while studying. Yeah.
And Ollie, what has it been like transferring to working virtually? How has that affected your work? How has that affected you?
Well, I miss the office a lot, to be honest, and I can't wait to go back. Yeah, like I've ended up moving back home, so it's been comfortable in that way. But I just miss working with all of these guys.
Yeah, but you've still managed, because you all catch up so often. You still manage to carry on doing what you're doing. It's just, this is a blip. You'll get back to the office, but you wouldn't say to people, don't apply for roles just because you might be working from home. You still feel like you're part of the team, and you're still able to progress and learn.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make a massive difference in terms of like your actual working. I guess the only bit which you miss out upon is just being with people and like the friendship on a personal level, which you don't get as much of. But your working doesn't really change. Like it's similar to studying online. Like obviously you miss that personal level, but you can still work and study the same way.
Yeah, okay, so anybody who's watching tonight and who is looking at lots of different opportunities, and they're all going to be working from home for a while, working virtually, you'd still encourage them to apply? Oh,
of course, yeah, you've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, well, thanks ever so much, Ollie. I'll have a couple more questions for you later, but I'm going to come to Sam, who is also one of the more recent new interns, and has now been taken on permanently as well. So Sam, you applied when you were in final year. So you actually did a graduate internship. You started after you graduated, and now you've been taken on permanently. So congratulations. Can you give us an overview of what you've been doing so far? And I also want to chat to you about motion design when you're finished as well.
Well, motion design I'll probably start with, just because that is exactly what we do every single day, which is just a form of animation that's meant for kind of social media. So it's animating illustrations, making posts that are animated, and GIFs for online. It's something I actually kind of fell into because I studied graphic design at uni, and it wasn't part of the course to learn it. It was something that I learned on the side, and because of that, I kind of picked it up as a skill, and PresentWorks kind of took the risk in hiring me as someone with experience, but minimal experience. But since then, there's a lot to be said for opening a software every single day. You learn so much, and it just means that every single day since I've started, it's gone from strength to strength. So immediately I have been working on projects with clients from the first day. So creating small information animations, GIFs for LinkedIn and online, it's a mix of web animations as well as social media animations. So getting things into the actual code of a website, which is something I'd never done before, but we've now found a really good process, and it's been amazing. And so I think I was really chucked in at the deep end, but I've swam quite happily over the last couple of months. So I think it was one of those things where PresentWorks needed, it offered PresentWorks another outlet for them to provide to clients. And so it's been really good to be at the forefront of that.
Fantastic. And how important was it, Sam, for you after a great 3 years at uni to find a role where you were allowed to stay, you were able to stay in your university city? How's that been? I know at the minute you're not there, but
yeah. I absolutely, at Leeds, I knew as soon as I arrived that I wanted to stay there. So it was one of those things where I did my placement at Leeds Uni because I wanted to stay over my placement year in Leeds itself, which was invaluable. The thing is, if you really want to get the most out of a city, you really do have to dedicate yourself to it. So by being part of the heart of the university, the amount of connections and amount of knowledge that I gathered about the area actually was really instrumental in picking PresentWorks to work for. So when you're looking at jobs, because you know the spectrum of different types of agencies in the area, you know what you're looking for and maybe what to avoid or what to go for. So in that respect, it was hugely beneficial going for an area that I knew and understood.
Can I just say something as well?
Yeah.
I think you know as well, when we were looking at the internship program last year, we were just looking for one person to join us. We had a really quite a number of CVs sent to us, and we were looking for a content writer, and we took Ollie on board. Sam's CV was incredible. It really stood out. And as I said, I think it's very, very difficult at times to differentiate yourselves in terms of academic attainment. You're all very clever individuals, you know, to where you are. And indeed, the majority of the people that we interviewed and that we've met from the university have been really, really good. But Sam made us think, hang on, this looks like an opportunity for us as well. Now, obviously, you've got the design element to your name, Sam, but I can't underestimate the ability to stand out from the crowd and what that does.
Yeah.
Here we are today.
Just on that point, actually, so Brett raised there, it was the same for me. I mean, I had, I think, about 20 CVs, you know, for the role, and all the CVs from an academic perspective were quite similar, all very high achievers, on track for decent degrees. I think your covering letter and how you phrase the About Me section is really important. Because when you've got a raft of CVs that are all very good, the ones that really sort of catch your attention are ones that have got, you know, that a real sort of fizz about why you're different, what you want in your career, that sort of thing. And when you're writing that sort of covering letter to apply for a job, do some research around that company and who's going to be reading that, you know, reading that CV. So not just dear employer, you know, who the owners are, who's the decision maker, and, you know, just think a little bit further about it, because that really impresses employers, I think.
Yeah, really good advice there. Just on that note, did any of you use the services of the Career Centre to have your CV checked or have a cover letter checked, or did you have a mock interview?
I had a cover letter review with someone from the Career Centre. However, for creative CVs, the CV tester didn't necessarily pick up mine particularly well. So therefore, when Brett says that it was a fantastic CV, sometimes I'm a bit, but whereas my housemates, some of them picked up really well because they were more kind of academic. But for design CVs, there's a format that doesn't quite necessarily match what the CV thing. But, I had a one-on-one interview.
You know, VMOC as well. Did you use VMOC? Yes. Yeah.
But the one-on-one session was brilliant. It was really, really good.
Good. Oh, I'm really pleased to hear that. And on that note, Vivian's just asked a question for Brett and Tom. What specifically made their CVs stand out? I know it's quite a wide-ranging question, but is there anything you can think of when you were looking through the applications and you thought, right, I'm getting this person in?
Yeah, as I said, I asked 3 questions before the applications, and it was which brand do you admire, which brand do you think would work well as a client for us on Amazon. And Toby's answer to both those questions really stood out. So again, if you get asked a question to respond to as well as applying with your CV, just make sure you give some thought about the response and how it might portray you to the employer.
Yeah, that really makes your application stand out and makes it
well as well. Details are important as well. I mean, my business partner is a real stickler for detail, and no matter how good a CV is, if there was a spelling mistake on it or it wasn't quite formatted right, he'd just be
yeah. And this is what career I would say as well. Yeah. Sorry, Brett, do you want to just answer that question as well?
I agree with what Tom's just said there as well. As certainly when you're the applicant is for a content writing position, I don't want to see mistakes, and I saw mistakes. The other thing as well is interest outside of what you do. We're all human beings. We've all got things that we're interested in, and I think that's great. And indeed, in fairness, I think the experience that has been picked up through working with either the university or organisations elsewhere is just another thing that demonstrates the relevance, I think, of the skills to what we're looking for.
Yeah, fabulous. I just want to ask Toby, because you're out of everybody, all the other interns, you are a current student. How are you managing to balance, Toby, your studies with your work at Shift Marketplace?
So I'm actually in a bit of a peculiar situation. I'm an external student, so although I'm still finishing my studies, I don't have as many commitments as every other student does. But it's been really good at Shift. It's the guys are being really open. It's really flexible. University does come first. We do have morning meetings on Mondays and Fridays, as well as in the evenings, just so everyone knows what we're up to. People are constantly, we use Slack, so everyone's communicates with each other really, really well. We have Google calendars, so everyone knows what sort of everyone's up to on a day-to-day basis. But as I said, it's really, really flexible. Uni does come first, so I've personally found the balance really, really easy. It's been pretty seamless, which is really good.
We try and make it as flexible as possible, Sarah. So I kind of said to all three, you can work as little or as many hours as you want really during the week, and we can set tasks. And if you want to do them around your studies, that's great. Elaine is doing a master's, and she's doing a dissertation at the moment. She's doing a marketing master's. So I kind of suggested that we can help her, not do a dissertation for her, but guide her down a route of doing it around Marketplace, because it's such a current and evolving key marketing channel. So she could write a dissertation on that. So hopefully,
fantastic, so useful for her. And Toby, just something else to you. I obviously support a lot of students who are out on placement year or who do internships, and they all say that their time management skills have really, really been helped a lot, and it really helps them in the studies because they see how much they can fit into the working day. Do you feel that your organisation skills and your time management skills have improved and helped you with your studies, as well as obviously helping you in the workplace?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think you kind of forget how much you can get done in an 8-hour day when you plan and do a bit of time management, which is, so it has definitely benefited me a lot. I used to sometimes at uni, I'd get up at midday and then do a couple hours of work or something, and that'd be it for the day. But now I can plan my whole day from when I wake up all the way until dinner, and get 1,000% more done than what I used to. So it's been really beneficial for sure. Yeah,
it doesn't surprise me at all to hear that. So Tom and Brett, we've got a question from AXA, who is asking, and you have already touched on this, but maybe you'd like to talk more about timings. Have you got any opportunities at the moment with your organisations?
Well, from our perspective, we're probably going to take on another 3 interns. So we'll start that process, I think, probably in February, March time. So if anybody's interested, by all means, do bear us in mind and go through the process. One You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. You know, I'm open to having discussions like that. So yeah, so we are looking.
Yeah, good. That's good. I hope that helps, AXA. Is definitely have a look at LinkedIn and think of all the advice and remember all the advice you've been given today. And Brett, you're also going to have some opportunities coming up later on in the year.
Well, we're about to advertise a couple of roles over the course of the next week or so, but we'll certainly be looking back at the intern program as well for this summer.
Yeah, on that point as well. I mean, the thing is, I know this is a SME podcast, but some graduates that I've interviewed in the past get blinded by working for a big four accountancy firm or quite a competitive graduate scheme. You could go into one of those big companies and have a potentially really good career. But sometimes if you go to a smaller business, you get more exposure to things a lot quicker. You can accelerate your career at a much faster rate. So there is something to be said for working with a startup in a fast-growing industry rather than going into a big competitive graduate scheme. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. And again, this is the type of advice that we give our students as well. Think about the smaller organisations. SME can be anything from 2 members of staff up to 250. So there's so many opportunities out there with smaller organisations where you can be a bit more of a big fish. So we've got a question from Chloe. Thanks ever so much, Chloe. She says, I'm doing a biochemistry degree. Do you think there are any opportunities for degrees like this?
I think, again, going back to the point I made in the opening field, you can have a degree in anything really. It's a kind of a intellectual sort of mark in the sand to say you've reached a certain stage of your academic career. If you then want to sort of pivot and go in a different direction, by all means. I mean, I did a degree in anthropology at university, studying evolution and monkeys basically, and that's led me into a career in marketing. So figure that one out. But
it's what you're interested in, really, isn't it? I mean, Chloe, you might be thoroughly enjoying your biochemistry degree, but you might be involved maybe in societies, or you might have done some volunteering, and you might have enhanced marketing skills or an interest in digital marketing. So I think it's been Brett and Tom have made it very clear tonight that it doesn't actually matter what degree you're doing. It's you and how you want to progress. Yeah.
I totally echo that comment as well, Sarah. So it's the attitude, it's the application, it's the desire that I think above and beyond the degree, discipline in many respects. So open to all.
Yeah, fantastic. So we have only about 5 more minutes. So what I would say to anybody listening, if you do want to ask a question, please do now. This is such a great opportunity with current interns and members of staff who were like you, students a year ago, did an internship and are now permanent members of staff. So please do ask any more questions. But really, just to round off by thanking everybody so much for joining us tonight. It's certainly been really, really useful for me. As we mentioned at the beginning, this session has been recorded. So we will be posting it on the special InLeeds YouTube channel that we've created. And we'll be sending it out to students and staff as well, because I think it's really useful for staff to have a listen and hear how students really become immersed in their opportunities, and to also hear from employers who really champion opportunities for students in the region. So I think in the absence of any other questions coming in, I've certainly gone through all of mine. I'd just like to thank you all and wish everybody good night and best of luck to everybody as well going forward.
Thank you.
Thanks guys so much. Thank you. Bye.
Later.
Bye-bye.